Hi, everybody. Apparently, you're enjoying this maybe more than I am. And so, we're on our third installment of Coral Tips. Let's get started.
What is the best salinity for a reef tank?
Most reef tanks are best kept at around a 1.024 to 1.026. The soft corals like lower salinity. The stony corals have a tendency to like the higher salinity. I would say stable is the most important, and try to mimic the store you're getting your corals from, and that will ensure success.
What is the ideal temperature for a stable reef?
Another loaded question. I love you people. Typically 76, 78 is beautiful. Again, stable is the key. Unfortunately, some tanks can't be that low without a chiller due to the equipment. Most animals can handle an 80-degree temp. When you hit 82 to 84, it can cook out the available oxygen as fast as it's available.
Can you touch on proper power head placement for water movement?
No. I cannot touch on the proper power head placement in a reef aquarium. Aquascaping comes into play. We also have the different types of corals. I'm sorry, I have to sneeze very badly. Oh no, I haven't sneezed yet, but I swear it's coming. I would say that lower water flow is going to be better for the balloon type animals, the fluffy inflatable ones, not unlike Hayden. Things like bubble corals or Euphyllia, things that won't be able to handle the abuse, we're going to have the power heads farther away from them. Things like Acropora and Monopora will have the power heads or wave makers closer to them.
Can you run a successful reef tank without a sump? If so, what is your go-to filtration?
I've seen people run successful reef tanks without sumps. Normally they're forced to. The longer they play that game, they end up wanting a tank with a sump and a protein skimmer. As long as your filtration is skimming off the surface and you're removing your oily films, the Seachem Tidal would be a functional tool. Some hang on the back protein skimmers work. Just watch out for them. When they get excited, they can throw water all over the floor. So be careful with that.
What are the pneumaticists that you mentioned last week?
Pneumaticists are stinging cells that corals will use to defend themselves against predators, normally pygmy angelfish. Sorry guys. What? It's true. And then they will also use them to sting and capture food like smaller fish or shrimp, things like that. It's an electrically charged neurotoxin that disrupts the signal between the brain and muscles, like the heart.
Are products like Reefroids and Reef necessary? Why should I use them?
They're an excellent tool for target feeding or broadcast feeding when used very sparingly. They're a lot like French food. Francois will tell you a small amount can go a long ways. Normally when feeding, I will soak them with A&B Plus or Fuel or even the Elos vitamins to try to get them waterlogged so they will sink and get down to everybody. And when you hear 1/4 of a teaspoon per 50 gallons, that might be a fully stocked reef, not just a handful of corals they're suggesting it for. So be very cautious. Better to underdo them than overdo them.
Are there any corals that I should not keep together?
Okay, very interesting question, and you don't see it a lot. But a lot of times the Euphyllia have a serious beef with the Sarcophyton and the Lobophytums. The Sarcophytums, Lobophytums, and other leather corals have a tendency to give off terpenes. It's a toxic waste byproduct, mostly just from them growing and existing. Occasionally it's an aggression. The Euphilia, the frog spawn, torches, hammers, anchors, guys like that, do not like it one bit and will go out of their way to try to cook and melt the leather corals. So watch out for chemical warfare. I believe Bornemann wrote a really good book on chemical warfare with corals. If you would like a sleepless night or two, go ahead and read up on that.
What happens if my corals touch each other in the tank?
Some will die. What? They will. Now, depends upon who they are. If they're very, very similar in species, not just genus, like I said before, thank you for correcting me. You know who you are. They can get along. They can learn to be next to each other. Some of them will grow in the opposite direction when they realize they cannot pass in that one direction. None shall pass. What's interesting is I have seen two Montipora war chemically, and when they could not reach an agreement, one grew over the other and shaded it out, killing it in that fashion.
What are the most common coral diseases and what should I look for? How would I go about treating them?
No. The coral diseases are not as probable as pests. By the time we get to diseases, it's normally probably too late. I would say dip your corals, scrutinize, buy from a reputable source, be very cautious. But by the time you get into some of those infections, it's almost always too late anyway. And I'm not going to speak on broad stroke medicating in a situation like that. That's kind of a situation that we have to see what's needed. I hope this was informative and enjoyable for y'all. I think I'll survive. Thank you for paying attention. Thank you for your responses and your feedback. We'll do our best to keep it rolling. Thanks, guys.